welcome to Kelly's Roadhouse, the Sweet Valley Recap podcast. Almost forgot what we were called.
You did almost forget, but you got there in the end.
I'm Paula and I'm here with Rich.
Hello.
This fortnight we have read book number 22, Too Much in Love.
Too much in love, indeed.
Will Dee Dee's dependents chase Bill away?
Probably.
Yes. Do we care?
Not
No.
by the end of the book, no. I started off caring a bit.
On the back it says, hanging on for love. Bill Chase and Dee Dee Gordon have been happy together for a long time. But lately Dee Dee has become too dependent on Bill. She wants to do everything and go everywhere with him. Bill feels that he doesn't have any room to breathe and decides it's over between them. Elizabeth doesn't know why Dee Dee is acting the way she is, but she knows Dee Dee's strange behaviour is killing her relationship. Can Elizabeth help Dee Dee regain her strength and independence before it's too late?
Have they, though?
Is it anything to do with Elizabeth? No.
No, of course not. Is she going to get involved?
Yes.
Has it been, though? Like, have they been together a long time? Because one book leads into the other, and it makes it feel like this was like they've been together like a month or so now. You know,
There's been probably a few kidnappings since they got together. So
is that how we measure time in Sweet Valley?
Runaway, kidnapping, and attempted rape.
Time is measured in Sweet Valley by kidnappings.
Yeah, by major incidents.
Yeah.
And on the cover, it's light green.
Yeah.
And Bill and Dee Dee both look about 40, mid-40s, especially Dee Dee.
Dee Dee looks nothing like I imagine Dee Dee looks. She looks like a 50-year-old smoker. And he looks like he's got, like, I don't know, some, like, skin condition or something.
And it's a bit sunburned.
Yeah, he's sunburned. Yeah, that's yeah, well, it's all that surfing he does.
Yeah, of course. Well, she's a surfer too. Well, she was.
She is. That's why her skin has aged like leather.
It's the hairstyle as well.
Is there? Yeah, it's everything about this cover is wrong. It does look like Bill from the other cover, though.
Yeah.
It does. Is consistently Bill. So
yeah,
we'll give him that.
We open at the Wakefield dinner table.
Yes.
Jessica's proudly telling their parents how Mr. Collins has asked Elizabeth to be in charge of a talent show because he was so impressed at the way she ran the carnival.
Yes, and Jess is super thrilled.
Yeah, I don't know why she's so...
Well, I guess because
really
she wants to be
proud.
part of the talent show. But the weird thing is, like, she's really excited, and I thought, oh, she's going to get really involved in the talent show. She doesn't actually do anything in the end. Not really, anyway. It's not
I
like...
thought she'd be straight in there.
Yeah, like doing a dance act or doing something. And she doesn't. So, yeah, it's weird that she's so excited here, but she is.
And then we get a description. Oval faces today.
Yeah.
Sunstreak blonde hair, sparkling blue-green eyes, dimple in left cheeks. And we also get a little bit about how Jessica feels much closer to Elizabeth since she ran away.
Yes, since last week when she ran away.
Yeah, apparently she's determined never to act like such an idiot again.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts.
It wasn't all her fault.
No, I would argue it was practically none of her fault.
Like, her family should be, making a few resolutions.
They should be.
They're not blameless.
However... Well, we'll get to it, but we do have another incident of Jessica burning food in this book. So, of course, Jess asks if Todd's going to be involved in the talent show, and Liz says she's not sure because he's been very busy between, school, sports, and working at his dad's office.
Yeah, Jessica says she bets that Todd's not happy about Elizabeth doing it. Like, why?
Why?
Yeah.
He's always been really supportive of everything she does.
Yeah. But I think that's a little bit of like comparison to
she's projecting
Bill and Dee Dee's relationship. No.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah.
How couples need to be independent, and it's like Liz is independent, doing things, having her own hobbies.
Because Liz is perfect
in comparison to Dee Dee, who we'll see has dropped everything for Bill.
Absolutely. Still. There is some real big news. Some amazing news for the twins.
Also, though, just before you go into that, so Liz says that Todd's busy himself, working 10 hours a week at his dad's office.
Yeah.
Don't know where that came from.
No, they've never mentioned that before. I thought that as well.
It's like, so is she saying if he wasn't busy, then she wouldn't be allowed to do it?
Yeah, I guess they'd be doing other things. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, yeah, there's some huge news. Exciting news for the twins.
Yeah.
There is talk of a vacation, but Jessica and Liz aren't invited.
Yeah. Ned has to go to Mexico for work, and Alice is going to be joining him because she needs a rest, apparently.
Now, can I just
Probably
point out...
from them.
Yeah, probably. Now, at this point, can I just say, as soon as Ned mentions vacation, Jess gets really excited and hopes that they're going to Europe.
She's always hoping they're going to Europe, isn't
We,
she?
as you probably are aware, do another show, Casey's Ice Cream Parlour, which focuses on twins, which is when they're 12 years old. The last book we read, Jessica was really hoping that they went to Europe then. She's been wanting to go to Europe for years now. Like, I don't know, like 4 years?
Yeah, well, she's going to be going soon.
You know.
Well, I'll talk about that later. But,
So, yes, this big case in Mexico. Ned needs to meet with a lawyer down there, and Alice has decided she just can't be bothered to look after the kids, so she's going to go too.
It's like they're just... they're just leaving the twins, even though one of them ran away, presumably about a week
ago in my head. Yeah, I'm always assuming that each book's like a week later or like a couple of days.
Quite recently, like it's just like we're just going to leave you here.
Yeah, they've neither of them have really shown that they should be left on their own. You know, and to that point, Alice actually says, "Well, maybe we should get Mrs. Lawrence to look after you." And Jess is like, are you insane? Mrs. Lawrence used to babysit us. Like, we babysit other people now. We don't need a babysitter.
Yeah, they babysit Teddy.
They babysit Teddy. And, Jessica's babysit little Sally, the dog.
And then we cut to Liz. She's called Dee Dee Gordon to ask her to be in charge of set design for the talent show. And Dee Dee says she'll have to ask Bill, and Liz is like...
you have to ask your man for permission?
Yeah, Liz is just like, okay, this is a bit weird.
But
she doesn't say anything, and she says that Dee Dee can let her know tomorrow.
Yeah, she says she'll let her know as soon as she's spoken to Bill.
And then she tells Jessica that Dee Dee's been acting weird lately, and Jessica says she's always been a total weirdo.
Yeah, she's like, no stranger than usual.
Because even though she didn't even like Bill, she's still bitter that Dee Dee... I
will say one thing for this book shows more than anything else. Jessica holds a fucking grudge.
Yeah.
Like, my God.
She didn't even really like Bill.
This was such a minor thing, this plot line and this story for Jessica's life, that I'd forgotten this even happened until this book. And then I was like, oh my God, she's still really angry about that minor thing. So she was not interested in Bill until Bill became quite talented, or it appeared he was quite talented. And then she was like vague, even then she wasn't that interested in Bill, I don't think, but she was annoyed that Bill fell in love with Dee Dee, and she has never forgiven Dee Dee.
Yeah, because Bill liked her, and then...
Because Bill was following her around, wasn't he?
Yeah, came to a sense and started liking Dee Dee, and then she got
because
annoyed.
She looked like, is it Juliana or Julianne?
His ex. Yeah,
his ex,
dead ex.
Who's his dead ex, yes.
And we cut to Bill's house, and Dee Dee's just turned up unannounced.
Yeah, and his mum says, well, he's not here. He's taken the car to go to the library. He's doing some history work. And Dee Dee's like super disappointed, but it is like, well, you did turn up unannounced at this guy's house. Like, it's not guaranteed he's going to be in. You could have phoned.
I love the reason it says she's devastated because she wanted to watch TV with him and hold each other in the dim light of the TV set.
Oh my goodness, what a romantic image. That 50-year-old woman on the cover in front of the TV.
And she thinks he always used to invite me to the library. And she's noticed that he's seemed distant lately. And then she remembers something her mother had said after her divorce.
Yes, this seems to be the source of all of Dee Dee's kind of insecurities around relationships.
So she'd overheard her mother saying to her grandmother, we should have spent more time together. We both got too busy. So she vows not to let that happen to her and Bill, and she thinks, he just needs to see how much I depend on him and how much I need to be with him. Yeah. Once he realises that, he'll never leave me, not for anything in the world.
Well, we'll see about that.
This is not a good attitude.
No, this is not. I will say, like, Dee Dee and Bill, just most unhealthy relationship. On both sides, it's just not good.
So, in the school cafeteria, Dee Dee sat with her best friend, Patty Gilbert.
Yes, she's a senior, 10 months older than Dee Dee.
Patty's complaining that Dee Dee isn't listening to her because she's too busy watching out for Bill to come in.
Yeah, and then she then asks, how's it going with the design class? And of course, Dee Dee tells her she's not really going anymore. She's not bothering. And this really shocks Patty because Dee Dee is like a design whiz and it's like been her life's passion. Suddenly she's lost interest in.
Yeah. We're told Patty's a senior and we're also told She's a beautiful black girl.
Yes.
First black character in Sweet Valley.
The first black character that I'm aware of in
Only
Sweet
took
Valley.
22 books.
22 books, but we got there in the end.
They do exist. And she's also one of the most popular, talented girls in her class. So Dee Dee had been quite embarrassed to tell her that she quit the design class.
Yes.
She told Patty she didn't feel ready for that level of training. And Patty starts lecturing her, saying, you need to get some confidence.
Yeah. And they also mentioned that Ms. Jackson is like the best design teacher around. She is like top of her field. So it was a real big thing that Dee Dee was part of that.
But all Dee Dee wants to talk about is their weekend plans.
Yes, this weekend, Patty and her boyfriend Jim are going to go out for Chinese food with Dee Dee and Bill, and Dee Dee cannot wait.
Yeah, Jim is visiting. He lives out of town.
Yeah, well, he's going to have a wonderful time when he arrives.
And Dee Dee thinks that being around another couple will help them, will help her and Bill. I'm not sure why.
Rather than just spending time together.
And then Patty asks her about the talent show, and she says, I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to do it yet. But apparently she wants to find out if Bill's going to be in it, so she could use it as an excuse to see him more.
Yes.
So we're getting a picture now. Literally everything she does is revolving around Bill.
Yeah, although there is like, Dee Dee does think there is an element of she is worried about being in charge of something so big as well. Like she's slightly fearful of that.
Much confidence.
She's lost all confidence, and she's obsessed with Bill.
Yeah. And then suddenly Dee Dee spots Bill coming in and goes way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, thank goodness. I thought you dropped off the face of the earth.
That is literally the quote, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like,
that's what she says.
She literally says, I thought you dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and Patty's just shaking her head and rolling her eyes like, what the fuck is this girl doing?
It should be pointed out that Patty herself is going to be involved in the talent show.
Yeah.
Doing a, quote, modern dance routine.
Mm-hmm. And then after school, Dee Dee waits for Bill outside his swim practice, and then he comes out and he's got some great news.
He has made the regional swim team.
But the meet is on Friday night, the day of the double date.
Yeah.
So Bill's quite reasonable. He offers to call Jim and apologise.
Yeah, because this is quite a big thing for Bill, really.
Yeah, and she just starts wailing at him.
Yeah, I thought this was a bit over the top. She makes the point that Jim is hardly ever in town, which is fair. But this is a big thing for Bill, and he didn't plan it. Like, this just happened, right?
No, and he says, like, you can still go.
Yeah.
And he asks what happened to the independent girl he fell in love with. But she just carries on screaming.
Yeah, she
until he hugs her.
He's like, just I'll hug you, just be quiet.
Yeah, and he has to tell her he's crazy about her, and they see each other all the time. And then he tells her he's going to do a dramatic reading for the talent show. So, of course, she's like, oh, okay, I'll help now.
Okay, I'll do all of that work now.
Yeah. So we cut to the twins. They're in the Fiat Spider.
Yes. And Jess is like, you know what we should do? Which I saw coming a mile away as soon as they were like, hey, we're going out of town for 10 days. Jess is like, let's have a party.
So, firstly, she won't stop using the rear view mirror to look at her reflection.
Oh, yeah, she's kind of like checking herself out. And Liz is like, we could die.
Liz says the mirror's to stop us getting killed, not for you to admire yourself in. But yeah, Jessica says they need to have some fun. And she says that Mr. Collins told her English class that the Bronte sisters were remarkable women because they had vivid imaginations and took risks.
Yes.
So she's basically trying to compare them to the Bronte sisters.
Yes, and she says that Liz doesn't take enough risks.
To get Liz on side is probably quite a good tactic.
I thought that. This is quite a good bit of manipulation by Jess, or at least an attempt.
Yeah, but Elizabeth asks if she's planning to run through Sweet Valley at midnight screaming, Heathcliff! And Jess says, well, actually, I was thinking more a party. Just 5 or 10 people. And Liz is like, I'll be too busy, leave me out of it.
Jess then questions. She's like, are you planning to just act like your normal self while our parents are away? And Liz is like, oh, you make it sound like I'm boring. Like, you are, Liz. Yeah,
she's concerned the party's going to get loud and out of control. But Jessica says, me and Lila aren't 2 years old. we'll have it all under control.
Yeah, Liz says that she's sure that she'll be able to enjoy the party secondhand if she's convinced that she'll be able to hear the party from Todd's house.
And then we cut to the first of many talent show meetings.
Oh, yes.
There's always too many fucking meetings in these books. Always involving Liz.
Yes, always. I mean, it's always a committee or some meeting that Liz needs to chair or be a part of.
So Patty's doing a dance routine to a number from West Side Story.
Yes.
Todd is doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, now it should be pointed out here that Winston says that, Todd's going to probably do something really mushy. But Todd's like, no, actually, I'm going to do stand-up comedy.
Oh, I bet that's going to be shit.
Yes.
Winston and Ken are performing magic tricks. And they want Jessica as to be their assistant.
Yeah, they want to saw her in half.
And she is not amused.
No.
But she doesn't say no.
She doesn't say no. No, she just says, like, most certainly won't.
And then Mr. Collins tells Liz that he needs to know if Dee Dee's going to do the sets. And Elizabeth says, I still don't know.
Yeah.
So after the meeting, Patty tells Liz that she thinks Dee Dee's not doing it because...
She comes up, she's quite over the top here as well.
Because Bill's told her he's too busy to be in the show now.
Yes, yeah.
So basically Bill's dropped out and Patty thinks that that's why Dee Dee's not given her answer.
Yeah, yeah.
And Patty says that she used to be so independent, but since she's been with Bill, she's been like his shadow. And she thinks that Dee Dee needs to do something to focus on anything apart from Bill.
Yeah, and Liz says she's worried that this is the case. And Todd also says that he thinks the same about Bill, that Bill's kind of not the same.
Patty says she's going to persuade Dee Dee to do the sets, whether she likes it or not. Meanwhile, Dee Dee is hanging around outside the locker room waiting for Bill.
Yeah, apparently Bill almost knocks her over coming out of the locker room, so she must have been, like, right in the way.
Yeah, and he's like, I've got to go home and celebrate my mum's birthday. And again, she starts whining at him. Yeah,
she wanted to go to the dairy with him.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it is his mum's birthday.
And we're told he'd been in a good mood until he saw her. He'd been excited about a research project he's doing on the Civil War.
What an exciting thing to do.
They make out like this is the most exciting thing ever, don't they? This Civil War project. He's like really fucking excited about it. He wanted to talk to Mr. Fellows about it before he went home.
But yeah, he was, Dee Dee starts saying that she wanted to also, another reason to go to the dairy was that she wanted to talk about Friday with him. And the mention of this apparently makes Bill's temple throb.
And we get a recap of how he'd been interested in Dee Dee because she'd had so many hobbies and interests of her own.
Yeah.
So these are Dee Dee's hobbies and interests that she apparently had, okay?
Surfing,
skating, dancing, art, architecture, current events, origami, cooking, and golf.
Yeah, that's...
blimey. That's more than the Wakefield twins.
I can't believe she ever had time to be with Bill in the first place. I mean, there's a lot of hobbies there, my dear.
But yeah, she'd been into all of that. I know, what the fuck?
And golf! Golf is a really weird one, actually.
They're all weird. So yeah, lately he'd been wondering if they are still right for each other.
Yeah.
And also, naughty Bill had agreed to go and see a movie this weekend with Dana. Yes,
and he's decided not to tell Dee Dee that this is happening, on the assumption she'd freak out.
They're both old film buffs, so there's not really anything in it, but I think in his head he's got, some ideas about Dana.
I agree. I think, I don't think he was...
It's not totally innocent.
I don't think he's totally innocent here, no.
It is on her part, not his.
Yes.
So yeah, he's decided to hide it from Dee Dee because he knows she'll get upset.
Yeah.
So we gave up on the idea of seeing Mr. Fellows about the Civil War research project.
Yeah, his great mood has been ruined.
And he offers Dee Dee a ride home, and he thinks it was pathetic how grateful she looked. Poor Dee Dee.
So anyway, Jim, Patty's boyfriend, come to visit. Very rare that he comes to visit.
Yeah.
And Dee Dee has dragged him to the swimming.
Yeah, she has.
What a wonderful time.
Instead of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And Jim's a bit like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like Patty, it says like Patty basically just rolls her eyes at Jim. Is like, I told you.
Yeah.
Like, look at her.
And he tries to make conversation to Dee Dee about what she's been up to, but she's got nothing to talk about except Bill.
Yep.
And it says that Dee Dee wonders why he keeps asking about her. And it's like, well, because that's normal and polite.
Yeah, it's called conversation. You might as well not be here if they're not going to talk to you.
And she's annoyed that everyone's been bugging her about quitting her design course.
Yeah.
But she has got a secret reason.
She does indeed. And not even Bill knows the reason.
Yeah. So the tutor...
Miss Jackson,
Susan Jackson,
oh,
had asked her out for coffee for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit inappropriate for a teacher to go out with a student.
She'd asked her out for coffee and then she told her all about her divorce.
Yeah, this is so weird. So this child, you've just gone out with one of your students to just basically sob and tell her all about your problems? Like, what?
She told Dee Dee how her husband had remarried a quiet, plain woman with no career.
Yes.
So Dee Dee takes this the wrong way. And
Dee Dee does go way, way out there with this theory.
And she's like, that's what men want, someone quiet and plain.
So, based on this one conversation with this deranged teacher that's going out with her students for coffee...
She's not got any friends.
And screaming at them about her divorce... she's now taken this to be like, this is what all men want. I'm going to quit all of my hobbies and do nothing but follow Bill Chase around.
Yeah.
Even though he was already in love with me prior to this with all of my hobbies.
With my, 5 million hobbies that I had before.
He was fine, but now I'm going to have to give up golf, give up origami.
Men don't like origami.
No, men hate origami. Makes us furious.
But it's like it's a combination, isn't it, of like what her mum said and now what this tutor said.
Yeah, it's kind of...
And she's just built it up in her head to be this thing now.
Yeah, she thinks that if her mum was more boring, then her father might have stayed.
Yeah.
If she had more time for her father.
I do feel bad for her. And
I feel bad for Dee Dee. Oh God, I feel
she's
real.
Got these ideas in her head and how they've stuck.
Yeah, at this point, I was like 50-50 on the I feel like bad for both of them, but the way Bill acts as this goes on, just like, oh yeah, I do feel sorry for Dee Dee.
And then this is so funny. This bit made me cringe. Like,
this is terrible.
Bill wins the race, and she acts like he's won the Olympics.
That's what he says, isn't it? He literally says she acted like she won the Olympics.
She starts shrieking.
Going
wild.
She runs down there, and it literally says climbing over the feet of people to get down there.
Like climbing across the bleachers.
And then she barges her way through all the swimmers to get to him. Like, it's really embarrassing.
Yeah, it's way over the top.
Yeah, it really is. And then she's surprised when he turns around. He's like, Dee, what is it? And apparently he looks embarrassed.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, he's embarrassed of me. He's like, I don't think he's embarrassed of you. I think he's embarrassed of the way you're behaving right now. Like, you're being ridiculous. I can imagine, all of the bleachers just in silence, just staring at her like, whoa. You imagine Jim. He's just come down to see Patty. He was like, oh God, is this your friend? Okay.
Yeah. And then we cut to Lila. She's giving Jessica party advice.
Yes.
Jessica's worried that 30 guests will be too much, and Lila says, yeah, I forgot how snug your house is.
That made me laugh out loud when I read that.
And Jessica says, yeah, it's a shame for the poor people of this world, but we do what we can.
Yeah, and Jess is laughing, but apparently Lila just doesn't understand this is a joke.
Because Lila was, not joking.
No, she was serious. Yeah.
She genuinely thinks the Wakefield Spanish tiled house is smug.
Yes, and the book even says that the Wakefield...
Not smug.
Smug.
It is smug.
It probably is quite smug. It also says that the Wakefield house is actually quite roomy.
And we know they've got a den. Ned and Alice have got their own studies. They've got the pool.
Thinking tree.
Yeah. I wonder where that got on in Sweet Valley High. It's never mentioned.
No, I don't know. It's gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe they chop it down.
Maybe we'll find out.
And Lila says parties are all about the guest list. And if you only invite guys from school, you may as well be at a dance in the gym.
Now, Jess thinks she actually really likes the school dances, but she won't tell Lila that because Lila thinks that they're terribly unsophisticated.
Yeah, Lila is on one because she's been dating Drake and he's a sophomore at Sweet Valley College.
Yeah.
So she's all like high and mighty now.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to invite some of his fraternity pals.
Just a few.
And Jessica's unsure, but she's like, well, as long as it's only a few.
Yeah, maybe she'll meet the man of her dreams. You never know.
And then we cut to Miller's Point.
Oh, but don't get excited, listeners, because it's Miller's Point with Todd and Liz, so nothing interesting is happening.
Yeah, they're on their way back from the swim meet.
Great. God, who was that? Was everyone at this bloody thing?
Yeah, seems so. But Elizabeth has noticed that Todd's been quiet, and she asks him what's up, and he says, it's just something I heard at my dad's office, but I can't tell you what. And then he starts holding her so tight that she feels like she's going to break.
Yeah, he like grabs her emotionally. He's like,
That's
what
really
would
weird.
I do without you, Liz?
Yeah. And she thinks, well, thank God that's a question we won't ever have to consider.
Certainly not by the end of this book.
Sure. On Saturday morning, Bill's having a lie-in and he's thinking about how embarrassing Dee Dee was.
Yeah.
And how he's always walking on eggshells around her lately. And then, so apparently after the restaurant last night with Jim and Patty, which they went to after the swim
Presumably
meet,
they had this meal quite late.
on the way home, she'd burst into tears because he was getting on with Jim and Patty.
Yeah, apparently they were having a great time at the restaurant, and then she went really quiet and reserved, and then she went to the toilet, and she was in the toilet so long that Patty had to go out and check on her. And then they're on the way back in the car, and she just burst into tears, and she's like, I felt really left out because you three were having a great time. It's like you were sat at the table.
They're your friends, and you wanted her to go and get on with them.
This is the whole thing you've been looking forward to all week, and now it's happening. And okay,
like what does she want? Him to not get on with them?
Yeah. But Bill has kind of learned the worst lesson from all of this. Bill has decided that he can't talk to Dee Dee about anything. He's just like, I can't talk to her anymore. So I'm just going to have to keep everything.
Oh, God, it's just...
They're both so extreme.
It's all so wrong.
They're so extreme.
And then, well, you know who they need some help from?
Oh, well, I could think of one person.
But he's looking forward to seeing the film with Dana, and he's thinking how interesting she is.
Yeah.
And then he remembers Julianne, his dead ex. And how we get like a really long recap of Julianne, which I'm not going to go into because we've had enough of that.
Yeah, I mean...
But she died in a surfing accident.
She died. They had an argument just before. She died. And then he came to Sweet Valley and fell in love with Jessica because she looked like Julianne. Yeah. But then he realised that Jessica was actually really shallow and not like Julianne on the inside, which really raises the question why he didn't fancy Liz. But we won't go into that. And that's basically when he found Dee Dee. And he kind of did just... He did move on a little too quickly.
Yeah, and he's worried, like, did I try and replace Jessica with Dee Dee?
Maybe. The book certainly read that way, although he did nearly drown her first, remember?
Oh, yeah. So at the movies, he has a great time with Dana.
Yes, and...
They've got loads in common.
They've got loads in common. They love the same films. Dana confesses her love for Hitchcock's The Birds, and that really impresses Bill, as apparently he doesn't know anyone who can sit through The Birds without becoming petrified. I literally don't know anyone that's frightened of The Birds. I mean, maybe if you've got a bird phobia, that would be a scary movie, but like most people can sit through it.
He's also impressed because she goes to the cinema alone. Wow.
Yeah, he's like, how do you find time to watch so many films when you've got a band? And she's like, well, sometimes I just go to the cinema by myself and just I find it relaxing and fun. And Bill's like,
holy shit.
An independent woman?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So then after the film, Bill suggests, hey, Dana, have you eaten yet? Do you want to go for some lunch? But as you said earlier, Dana is completely innocent and oblivious to this, I think. Because Dana's just like, oh, my boyfriend's coming down and we're going to be eating.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Maybe next week. And then he's a bit like, she's like, oh yeah, maybe in the week. And then he's like, oh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which day?
Well, she probably thinks it's innocent because she knows that he's with Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody asked me to the cinema, but
you'd just be like, yeah, they're just asking me to the cinema.
I wouldn't think there was anything in it.
Totally, yeah. But
if they were single,
Bill,
I might, but yeah.
Bill is like, clearly, you know.
Yeah, because it says that he can't help comparing her to Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Like, how much more interesting she is.
Mm-hmm.
But then Bill hears a voice calling his name.
Oh, no.
It's Jessica Wakefield and Cara the Mouth.
Oh, you did the same. I literally have that written down in quotes, the mouth.
That's what I always think of now when she's mentioned.
That was Lila, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Said that.
So he knows that they'll tell Dee Dee.
Yeah, he knows this is not going to be kept quiet now.
He thinks he'll be a dead duck.
A dead duck.
Never heard that phrase before.
No, it's a new one for me.
On Sunday, Jessica is so excited about having a free house that she's got up early and she's washing sheets.
Well, it gets worse. She bursts into Liz's room, right? And she's like, Liz is trying to sleep. And Jess is like, I need to do the washing. I need to wash the sheets. The sheets that you're literally sleeping on.
She literally like pulls them out from under
her.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Bed. I don't really understand. I guess she's really into the idea of like, oh, we can take care of ourselves. And...
Yeah, but it's like Liz is literally trying to sleep on those sheets right now.
And then Liz tells her that she's having a talent show meeting at the house later. And Jessica's like, is Dee Dee coming?
Yeah, I wonder if Dee Dee will be there.
She wants to get revenge.
Yes.
And then she goes to the basement and she doesn't know how the washing machine works. So she just shoves loads of stuff in it, plus loads of soap, and just presses every single button on the machine.
Well, Liz tells her not to overload it. She then goes down, reads the instructions, ignores the instructions, shoves everything in, and apparently just presses random buttons until it starts.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
And then she heads upstairs to cook some mini pizzas.
For breakfast?
Well, it's a test run. She's thinking if they're good, she can make some more for the party.
Yes. Yeah, Liz is like, what are you doing? But then as she's questioning the pizza for breakfast situation, they hear noises in the basement. Mm-hmm. Is it Stephen?
And Liz is like, I hope you didn't overload the machine.
And the noises get worse and worse.
Then they head down and they find it flooded with soapy water.
Oh no, Jessica screams.
She wades through the suds and switches it off. And Lisbeth says, we're going to have to call the repairman out. But
then a look of horror comes over Jess's face as she smells burning.
Yeah, she's left a pan of mushrooms on the stove and they've caught fire.
So they rush upstairs. Jessica rushes up and, thinking fast back to what she's learnt, she puts a dry towel over the fire, which immediately then itself catches fire.
Yeah. And in the end, she manages to put it out with flour.
Yeah, she pours a whole bag of flour over it.
I didn't know it was a thing, but...
I don't know if it is a thing, but I think it just worked. It will. Yeah, I guess it worked.
And then right on cue, their parents' phone.
Yes. And Liz, is obviously suspicious. Alice rings, and Liz is like, oh, hi. She's like, oh, hello. She's like, oh, it's your mum. I was like, oh, hi, mum. And she's like, how's it going? And then Liz obviously either puts her hand over the receiver or just turns to Jess and be like, what shall I say? It's like this really awkward pause on the phone where it's like, there's clearly something up.
Yeah, and they lie that everything's fine. And Alice says, by the way, I've left one of my floor plans for a big project on the drafting table in my study. It's the only copy, and it's very important. It's the only copy that exists in the world. Yeah. Why is she even telling them that, though? Because they have no reason to be in her study. They have no reason to be in her study. B, there's no reason for this to be a problem. If it's that important, put it away. Yeah. And also make a copy of it. Yeah. Why would you only have one copy of this ever? I mean, I know it's the 80s, right? But I worked in an office early computer times when you didn't have much on computer, and you made copies. Photocopiers are a thing, Well, so why is it in her house? Yeah, I guess maybe she works from home a lot. I don't know. It's weird. Well, the last bit was saying how she was spending so much time at work. Yeah. And how she was never at home. I don't know. Maybe she's like, hey, my office is upstairs, and when I'm in it, I'm in work. I'm not at home. Yeah. If you cross that boundary into the study, you're in my office. Yeah. So, I put a note here saying, I'm sure this won't come up later. Yeah. So we cut to the talent show meeting, another one. And it's at the Wakefields' house, as we said earlier. Yeah. Jessica asked Dee Dee to come into the kitchen with her. She casually mentions that she saw Bill earlier. I find it really weird that Liz didn't immediately find this suspicious when Jess is like, hey, Dee Dee, come to the kitchen with me. Yeah. But yeah, she's like, oh, wow, it's so great. Bill's so busy and so talented, and it's amazing that he still had time to go to the cinema. With Dana. Yeah. Dee Dee turns pale and says she has to leave. Yeah. And Jess feels immensely satisfied. Yes, she says that her plan has obviously worked beyond her wildest dreams. I've ruined somebody's life. Yes, great. What a great day. On Monday at school, Dee Dee's thinking to herself, I have nothing left. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally the quote.
Well, that is probably what happens when you give up absolutely everything for one person. I mean, you could relearn origami. Is that a perishable skill? I imagine she still knows how to fold paper.
Yeah.
Come on.
She finds Bill and she confronts him, and he says, I didn't tell you because I knew you'd make a big thing of it. They have a huge row.
Yeah.
Which finishes with him dumping her.
Yeah, he takes her into the lounge. There's a lounge in this school, apparently. I guess maybe it's just like a chill out area. It's an empty area. And he says, like, I don't need your permission to see a friend. And he says that the way things have gotten lately, maybe we should just end things and go our own way. And he storms out, leaving Dee Dee to cry.
And who enters the room?
Oh, I wonder. I reckon she was waiting in the wings. She was stalking her, just waiting because she knew there was going to be something she could get involved in.
Yeah, Elizabeth just turns up, coincidentally. And she says to Dee Dee that maybe Bill will talk to her after he's calmed down. And Dee Dee's like, maybe he will. I've got to find him right now.
Yeah, maybe he'll be over it now.
Liz probably meant in a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, that's what she does with Todd, right? They leave it a couple of days and then they make up. But Dee Dee's like, it's been a minute. We're fine.
I'm going to find him right now.
Yeah. So Bill's in the cafeteria.
She asks him to go outside. And she explains that she's only been acting strange because she's scared of losing him. And he admits that he's been busy lately, but he says he still needs some space. And she basically starts begging him.
He says, like, hey, look, maybe let's have a bit of space and then we'll come back and we'll try and make this, we'll maybe try again. Dee Dee, this is a quote, let's try again now. He's like, literally like, no, now, right this second.
And he walks off and leaves her crying.
Yeah, he feels like, she needs to learn to stand on her own. She can't keep relying on me. I can't keep doing this anymore. And he leaves her.
We cut to Tuesday. Elizabeth and Dee Dee are making lettering for Winston and Ken's magic show.
And Liz is a complete bitch.
Yeah, Olivia's taking Patty's measurements. Mr. Collins is showing Ken how to set up the audio equipment. Yeah. And Todd is experimenting with spotlights.
Is there anything that Mr. Collins doesn't know?
Dee Dee asks Liz for help with Patty's backdrop. And
she's got some ideas and she just wants to run them past her friend.
And Liz tells Todd that Dee Dee is driving her crazy.
Yes, apparently, since being dumped yesterday by her boyfriend who she's madly in love with, Dee Dee has phoned Liz 4 times and keeps asking her on her opinions for the backdrops for her fucking talent show. So Dee Dee is awful, apparently, according to Liz.
Yeah.
She got dumped yesterday.
And she's also been asking for advice about Bill.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
that's a normal friend thing, right? That's like a friend thing. Like, what's wrong with you, Liz?
Yeah, and Todd says, poor you. Everyone dumps their problems on you.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this. I was just like, oh.
And and then Liz actually says, I can see how Bill felt.
What
a bitch.
Yeah, you absolute bitch.
So Liz goes and looks at Patty's set, and she tells her how talented she is, but Dee Dee... Sorry, not Patty's set.
It is Patty's set, but Dee Dee was designing it,
yeah. But Dee Dee just won't accept it. And she's like, oh, it's rubbish.
Yeah. And then she's like, hey, can you spare me? And she only asks for a few minutes. She's like, can I see you for a few minutes, or talk to you for a few minutes later after this? And Liz is like, oh, no, I'm too busy, sorry. Sorry, buddy, gotta go.
And Dee Dee looks around at everyone and feels jealous of how capable they are. And then she realises she used to be like that.
Yeah.
And she needs to get her confidence back. She has a bit of an epiphany.
Yeah, she realises that the relationship might have fallen apart as well, but it's not just her fault. It was Bill's fault as well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Elizabeth is dropping Patty home when they talk about Dee Dee. Patty tells Liz she has a plan that will make Dee Dee realise how capable she is and get her off of Liz's back.
Poor Liz's back.
Yeah. But this plan is...
Liz's back must be so sore from carrying all these people.
But Patty's like, yeah, I've got this plan, but I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah. I'm not taking any risk in this.
I'm just going to tell you about it and you do it. We'll find out about that in a sec.
She knows that Liz bloody loves all this crap, though.
Yeah. We cut to the Wakefields, where Jessica is planning the party guest list. She's invited Roger, Bruce, Aaron, Ken, Neil and Bill. And then Jessica's a bitch now as well. She wonders what to do about Cara because Cara's been a bit down lately.
She's no fun anymore.
As the Walkers are talking about getting a divorce. And it says she decides to invite her even though she hasn't been much fun lately.
Yeah.
It's like, what a shit friend.
They're both terrible friends.
Like she's down because her family
you're so
is falling
boring.
apart.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to invite you to my party then. Like, you should be inviting her to the party to try and cheer her up.
Definitely. Oh, you're such a downer.
Yeah. And then she calls Lila, and I love this bit. She calls Lila, and she asks Lila if she's called Drake, and Lila's just like, I've just woken up. I've been lying in a dark room with cucumbers on my eyes every afternoon.
Yes, apparently it removes the puffiness.
And Jessica says, all you do is lie around with vegetables on your face. And then Lila tells Jessica she's going to a spa for her birthday. They've got a machine called the Fountain of Youth. It sucks all the fat from your thighs, and then they soak you in minerals until you're entirely purified.
Wow. Jessica's like, stop talking about your thighs.
Yeah, she's like, I don't care. Have you called Drake? And Lila says, you'll get lines at the sides of your mouth if you don't calm down. She's like suddenly obsessed with like beauty.
Yeah.
But she says she has called Drake, and Drake's put a sign up in his frat house advertising the party.
Yeah, and Jess is like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But then Lila's like, oh, don't worry, I'm sure only like 3 or 4 people will come.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is a terrible idea.
Yes.
This is clearly a bad idea. I should point out as well, earlier when Jess was planning the party in front of Liz, and she was like, I'm going to invite this person, this person, this person. Liz is like, you're not seriously going to have a party, are you? Like, obviously, she's literally at the stage of inviting people to the party. She's told you like 4 times. Yeah. This is happening.
And then after Jessica hangs up, Liz uses the phone to call Dee Dee. And she puts her plan into action.
Yes, she's sick. Liz is sick.
Yeah, she says she's got a fever, and the doctors... This is so shit medical advice. The doctors told her that she can go to school tomorrow, but she has to go straight home after.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It won't be contagious between 9 and 3.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have to stay in.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's
Imagine
insane.
you went to the doctors really ill, and they were like, oh yeah, you can go to work though.
Mm-hmm.
You just relax around work, but we're not signing you off work.
Yeah. And then she tells Patty... Dee Dee.
Tells
I keep
Dee Dee,
getting their names confused for some reason.
She tells Dee Dee that she's going to need her to cover for the party because Patty is also busy, and they've got this important
cover for the talent show.
Sorry,
cover for the talent show.
It's the meeting for the talent show, isn't it? Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, you'll have to cover it for me." And Dee Dee's really reluctant, but she does eventually agree.
And Liz feels guilty, but she thinks this is the way to show Dee Dee how capable she is. Plus, they've also briefed Mr. Collins on the plan, and he's fine with it.
This bit with Mr. Collins gets worse in a moment. But we'll get to that.
So then we cut to Elizabeth and Todd. They're doing homework together. And Todd's acting weird.
Yeah, he's like, Liz, have I ever told you how beautiful you are?
And he says, sometimes I think about losing you. And Liz is like, what's going on?
At this point, Liz is like, are you terminally ill? Like, what is going on?
And he's like, I'm fine, nothing's there.
Yeah, he refuses, just point blank. I said to you earlier, I think this is revenge for all the times that Liz didn't tell him stuff. He's like, I've got the worst thing ever. I'm going to leave it until the last minute to let you know. And
then we cut to Dee Dee's basement. She's putting the final touches to Patty's set.
Yeah, the West Side Story set.
Yeah, she admits to herself that it's actually really good.
Yeah, she's really happy with it. She's got a few final touches.
And then this bit is great. Her mum comes down and says Bill's on the phone. And she actually tells her mum to say she's too busy to speak to him and she'll call him back.
Yeah, and Dee Dee's mum goes upstairs, tells him, and she comes back down and she says, that shocked me. And it seemed to shock Bill.
And she tells Dee Dee she's always been a bit jealous of the way that Dee Dee and her father are so into stuff. And Dee Dee's shocked.
Yeah.
And she tells Dee Dee not to sell herself short. And then Dee Dee takes the chance to ask her about the divorce. And she says, do you think it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't started work?
Yeah.
But her mum says, I was just kidding myself. That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And my work actually helped me to hang on to my own identity.
Yeah, she said if it wasn't for the work and the courses I was doing and all of that stuff, I never would have, gotten over it.
Dee Dee realises how stupid she's been, and she tells her mum that she's going to take her up her design courses again.
Yeah, she's going to speak to Ms. Jackson as soon as she's finished with the talent show, and her mum's thrilled about this.
Mm-hmm. At the talent show meeting, though, the lights are broke.
Everything. Literally everything has gone wrong.
The lights are broken, the sound system's broken, Olivia's sewing machine's broken.
And the PTA have double booked the room.
Yeah, they've told Winston they've already booked out the auditorium for their meeting on Sunday night.
Liz and Mr. Collins put this goddamn thing on without planning the room?
Yeah, I was unsure at this point if like this was part of the plan or...
Well, I thought that, but then it's not.
No.
So, like, all of these are... Because I thought that. I thought all of these problems have been made up to keep Dee Dee busy and keep her... They're not.
No.
That genuinely is this much of a shambles at this point, and Liz isn't there to deal with any of it.
And Dee Dee basically does a runner. She's like, fuck this.
Well, she's
Bye,
like,
guys.
hey, look, Liz will be back in a day or so, and I'll do what I can in the meantime. Just, She goes straight to the Wakefield's house, and Elizabeth says to Jessica, tell Dee Dee that I'm too sick to see her. And Jessica rightly is like, how is messing up the talent show going to help with Dee Dee's confidence? This is a very good point.
But Jessica does lie for her. She says that Liz has no voice and she's got to stay in bed for 3 days.
She says, specifically, and I feel like this is about the 4th or 5th time that this has come up, someone's got laryngitis.
And Dee Dee realises she's got no choice but to try and sort things out herself.
Liz has left some instructions for her.
So she heads back to school, and then at school she bumps into Bill. He's outside the locker room talking to Dana.
Ooh.
And she's like, oh shit, I didn't call him back.
Yeah, she realises.
And he remembers as well. And
he
asks why. And she explains to him how busy she's been. And she realises that she doesn't even feel jealous of Dana.
No, and Dana asks, hey, this talent show's going on. Do you mind if the droids play?
Surely they're too professional for
I
that.
thought that. I was like, this is kind of lowering yourself. Maybe like
they
Dana...
played the beach disco, for God's sake.
I know. They're Sweet Valley's answer to the Rolling Stones. I forgot what band they were the answer to then. So yeah, it's kind of lowering themselves. I wondered if Bill had a word with Dana and he's like, look, could you really do me a favor and just like be nice, just try and smooth things over for me because I've really cocked this up.
And then also Dee Dee's noticed the way Bill is looking at her.
Yes.
He's blushing.
He's going red.
But she thinks, I haven't got time for this. Bill will have to wait until next week.
Yeah, again, this is progress.
Putting herself first.
Yeah.
On Friday...
This is awful.
On Friday, Elizabeth actually has to skip school.
She's decided that because she's ill with laryngitis, she should skip school. Now... Not only does she does some schoolwork from home in the morning, but then she takes the entire afternoon to go to the mall while she's supposed to be ill. I mean, imagine if a teacher saw her there. And also, Mr. Collins signed off on this plan.
Yeah.
So Mr. Collins, the teacher, was cool with this plan where Liz doesn't go into school for a day.
He's cool with anything.
Like, what kind of a teacher is he?
I know. And then when she gets home from
Bring back Mr. Bowman. He wouldn't have stuck for this.
Yeah. Although he just lets people hang around in his classroom.
Yeah, you can read all the grades of the other kids. Yeah. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
And then when Elizabeth gets home from the mall, she finds Jessica on the driveway arguing with 2 policemen.
Oh my goodness.
They've found her trying to climb through a window and they think she's a burglar.
Now, the reason that they found her trying to climb through the window is that apparently the Wakefields, Alice and Ned, asked the police to keep an eye on the house. And I guess the police have got nothing better to do in Sweet Valley. So they did. Like, can you imagine if we were going on holiday and we just went to our police station and went, oh, can you keep an eye on our house while we're gone? Like, the look they'd give you, just be like,
Well, it's like
sure.
on Home Alone when
yeah.
the burglars, like, pretend to be the police and they go house to house. They're like, we're just, like, going to check all the houses in the area.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, does that happen? Maybe that happens in America. That does not happen here.
You don't see police here ever.
No.
Unless,
on the street occasionally.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
They don't just patrol and stuff.
They don't just turn up, no.
But Jessica explains that she's forgotten her key, and Liz backs her up, so the police...
It is Liz's fault, because she assumed Liz would be home, because she's meant to be ill. Like, this is actually not Jess's fault.
And then we cut back to Dee Dee.
Oh, no. Can I just say, though, Jess's best line of the book, in my
right.
opinion. Liz starts trying to lecture Jess about not having
yeah.
a key, and Jess is like, "You're supposed to have laryngitis. Shut up."
Yeah, doesn't she call her Miss High and Mighty Wakefield?
Yeah, she's like Miss High and Mighty Wakefield, and then she's like, "You're supposed to have laryngitis," and Liz is like, "So what?" And Jess is like, "So shut up."
And then we cut back to Dee Dee. She's managed to call the PTA, and she's not only convinced them to move their meeting, but they've also agreed to come to the show and serve refreshments.
Yeah, they're really excited to see the show. Olivia has finished the costumes.
Yeah, Dee Dee managed to source a new sewing machine, and she's got the audio system repaired.
Now the only thing left now is the lighting, so she's going to go speak to the electrician. But, like, this wasn't part of the plan, right? So the original plan, like, this does give her confidence, right?
Because she's for her to chair one meeting.
Yeah, like, that wouldn't have worked, would it? That wouldn't have given her self-confidence back, chairing one meeting where everything was going well.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe Liz deliberately fucked everything up before she left.
She went in with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
Sabotage.
And then she bumps into Bill, who asks her to go for a Coke.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, let's go to the dairy for a soda."
And she says she's too busy.
Yeah.
And he's noticed that she's changed. And he likes it.
Yeah, she hopes that he'll be at the show. And Bill says he wouldn't miss it for the world. And Dee Dee thinks, maybe things will work out between us. But I'm too busy.
And then she does find time to go for a Coke with Patty.
Yeah, I did think, it's funny that she's like, "I don't have time to meet you for a soda." And then literally the next page is like, Dee Dee goes to meet Patty for a soda.
They have a heart-to-heart, and Patty tells her that Bill's been asking about her, and Dee Dee says, "I love him, but I'm not ready to get back together."
Yeah. Which is fair.
Yeah, she's being sensible.
She is. And then Patty says, quote, "Hey, have I ever told you that you're the most sensitive, thoughtful, articulate friend I have?" Which is a bit over the top. You imagine your friend just turning to you and being like, "Hey, have I ever told you this?"
And then it's time for Jessica's party.
Oh,
she's
yes.
she's made the mini pizzas.
She has, successfully, and I will point out, spoilers, no one gets food poisoning. So she can cook.
This party sounds wild.
Yeah, Caroline Pierce is very impressed already. She comes up to Jess immediately and she's like, "This party's amazing."
Lila's flirting with a senior called Peter West, who started his own computer company and made a fortune.
Computers.
But they're arguing about health foods.
Yeah, I was like, okay. But of course, Lila's all about health now, right?
Yeah.
Health and well-being is
really weird.
Lila's thing.
Jessica drags Lila away and she tells her that there aren't enough guys to go around. It's like, what is this, a swingers party?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Lila's like, it's way too early. Apparently seniors would rather die than do something as embarrassing as turning up before 10:30.
Yes. The neighbours have started complaining about the music, so Jessica goes to turn it down. And she notices that Alice's study door is open.
Yeah, she makes a mental note. "I must close that door."
But she doesn't close it.
No, she doesn't. Because the doorbell rings.
Yeah, and what she sees, quote, scares her to death. So basically it's loads of lads.
About 18 or 19 lads.
All huge, all reeking of beer. They just stampede into the house. And Elizabeth freaks out.
Yeah, Liz comes in like, "Hey, we've run out of soda." And then she's like, "Oh my God."
They all start bringing in crates of beer from their cars.
Yeah. And Liz is like, "We've got to stop them." And Jess is like, "How?
We can't."
There's like 20 lads here.
And then we get a description of the party. A thin, silly senior called Louisa is downing beer and dancing wildly.
Oh my God.
Drake and Lila are making out on the couch. And Peter West has stormed off in a huff.
Yeah, he didn't get with Lila. Lila was obviously using him to buy time. Like Neil Freemount. That's like, Jess treats Neil Freemount. That's how Lila obviously was treating Peter.
Jessica's turned the music down 4 times, but people just turn it back up. It's just absolute chaos.
And Mrs. Beckworth has fucking had it.
Yes. Bruce starts dancing with thin, silly Louisa, who has apparently turned green. And then Drake and Lila get into a huge row.
Oh my God.
And Winston is trying to turn Alice's crystal vase into an egg.
And we'll get back to that.
This party sounds fucking amazing.
It does sound brilliant. Bear in mind, the last party we had, people were playing Trivial Pursuit. So this party is a definite upgrade on the last party we heard about in Sweet Valley.
Whose party was that? Kara's.
Kara's party, yeah. But Kara's a bore since her parents are getting
divorced.
The one
with Nicky Shepherd and his fabulous dancing.
Yeah.
So then the police show up. It's the same ones from yesterday.
Mrs. Beckworth is had enough, their neighbour. I don't know if this is the same neighbour that Jess was accusing of burying a body in the garden. But she's had enough. She called the police, and the police have turned up. Yeah, same cops as last time. And they threatened Jess. They said, well, look, if there's not someone over 18 who's responsible for this party, we're going to have to take you to the station.
And then Stephen steps out of the shadows.
Oh my God.
He just appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, he does, like Mr. Ben.
He says he was just in the area and decided to check on them, and he saves the day.
But then they hear a crash.
Alice's crystal vase shattering.
Oh my God. Winston's magic trick has backfired.
He made it disappear.
He did make it disappear into tiny pieces.
So everyone leaves, and Stephen says, we can replace the vase, we can clean up tomorrow, it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
But then they hear Liz wailing from Alice's study.
Of course, the plans are covered in beer, smudged, unfixable. Jess says this is the worst day of her entire life.
Even worse than getting kidnapped. Even worse than when her sister was in a coma. Even
worse than attempted rape by Scott. Just the worst time ever.
On Sunday morning, Jessica gets up bright and early and she heads to Dee Dee's house. She's got a huge favour to ask. So Liz has come up with this plan.
Yeah, of course.
Liz has come up with the plan that they asked Dee Dee, a schoolgirl.
I have noticed that in giving Dee Dee back her confidence, Liz is like, I will just get Dee Dee to resolve any issue I've got in my life.
Yeah.
Dee Dee, fix this. Dee Dee, fix that.
So Liz thinks that Dee Dee, a schoolgirl, is going to be able to redraft a professional, qualified interior designer's plan.
I think this is more a comment on the lack of talent that Alice has.
Well, yeah, it's
than
either
the
Dee
ability
Dee
of
is
Dee Dee.
fucking amazing, or Alice is pretty
just
shit.
awful, yeah.
And Alice has the ability of a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Jessica has to beg her to help, and she also has to apologise about Bill as well.
She actually does have a moment where she's like, look, the plans are probably ruined, so this is a genuine apology. Like, I am sorry.
So Dee Dee agrees, and they head to the Wakefields. But when they get there, Elizabeth has some news. Ned and Alice have called, and they will be back in half an hour.
30 minutes.
So Dee Dee manages to do the work of a qualified designer that I'm assuming has taken Alice, days?
Yeah, I mean, it would a while.
She manages to do it in half an hour.
And she thinks it's so good that Alice wouldn't notice the difference.
Surely Alice would notice, though, even if it was good. You can tell when something's not yours.
But the handwriting wouldn't be the same. You're going to have measurements and stuff written down. That's not going to look the same, is it?
No.
But apparently it's fine.
Yeah.
And she's so confident, she throws the old one away. She's like, I'll just get rid of the old one. This is perfect.
And then Ned and Alice get home, and Elizabeth just leaves Jessica to confess to them alone.
Yeah.
Good. So Jessica confesses. She tells them everything. She tells them about everything bar the design plan. Yeah. Basically. And they're really lenient.
They are. Even though Alice is like, that vase was my favourite vase. That meant a lot to Alice.
They just forgive her straight away.
Fine, don't worry about it.
And then finally, it's talent show time.
They must have known she was going to try and have a party as soon as they left, though.
They
They went for 10 days.
Well,
it's
if they
Jessica
knew,
Wakefield.
why didn't they put the fucking vase away? And why leave those
Lock
design
the
plans
study.
out and lock the study?
Put a lock on your study.
Yeah. Ridiculous. So finally it's talent show time. Elizabeth gives a speech and praises Dee Dee. Dee Dee gives a speech and praises Liz.
Yeah.
Olivia plays a love song on her guitar, and it makes Dee Dee think of Bill.
Oh.
And then Bill appears.
There he is.
He tells her how impressed he is, and he asks if he can kiss her. And of course she's like, yeah.
Go on then, I think I've got time.
Meanwhile, Ken and Winston have put Jessica in a box, and she looks ridiculous.
Yes.
And none of their tricks work.
Yeah, apparently every trick they try fails.
Yeah.
Including this. And apparently Jess looks, quote, crestfallen.
And then Todd's up. with his stand-up comedy.
Now, everyone's been having a great time.
Yeah, everyone's having a laugh.
Like, this is hilarious
really good
fun.
Night.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's having a great time. It's time to end the night on some stand-up comedy.
Yeah, but Liz is confused because he looks really sad and serious.
It's part of the act, I'm sure.
It says he cleared his throat and said, I wanted to do a comedy routine tonight, but I just wasn't in the mood. So
I'm going to bring you all down with me.
So I hope you'll bear with me while I do a serious reading of a poem I've always loved. It's called Remember, and it was written by a woman named Christina Rossetti. It has a special meaning for me tonight, and I hope it will for you as well. Elizabeth almost jumped out of her seat. Todd reading a poem? That poem? What was going on? Why did he look so sad? Taking a deep breath, Todd began to recite. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day. You tell me of our future that you planned, only remember me, you understand. It will be too late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve, for if the darkness and corruption leave... The cat just sneezed.
That rhymed.
That's part of the poem. Better by far you should forget and smile, than that you should remember and be sad. I didn't read that very well. But...
I wish he'd done it in iThig.
Oh, God. Tears shining in his eyes, Todd turned and walked down from the stage, disappearing into the wings. The audience was stunned. It was such a shock, hearing this melancholy poem from the mouth of a boy known for being cheerful and good-humoured. The whole mood of the talent show was altered.
I would have just been like, Todd has a favourite. Todd's read enough poems to have a favourite?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Basically, he's just killed the whole mood.
Yeah, he's just literally...
everybody's mood.
Everyone's like,
down.
oh.
And then we... and
Bill and Dee Dee split up again. They're like, oh, let's just forget everything. Forget it.
And then Liz catches up with him backstage and he tells her the news.
She's like, what?
Yeah,
the fuck?
like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And he tells her the news. His father's been transferred. He's moving to Vermont in a fucking week.
Yep.
And we finish with them crying in each other's arms and holding each other like they'll never let go.
He's just like, oh, I couldn't tell you. I just didn't have the heart to tell you. It's like, well, you know, you kind of have to, Todd. You are leaving in a week.
Can Elizabeth survive the heartache of losing Todd? Find out in Sweet Valley High number 23. Say goodbye.
Well, hopefully Nicholas Morrow will be there to help.
Sure he will. So, that was Too Much in Love.
It was indeed. I quite enjoyed it, actually. I did feel like the party was the most interesting part. I would have preferred that to be the A-plot and Bill and Dee Dee to be the B-plot.
Yeah, Bill and Dee Dee felt like a B-plot to me.
There was way too much time on Bill and Dee Dee.
Yeah. So, next fortnight, we'll be back with a special edition.
Yeah.
So it's spring starts in the UK on 20th of March. So on the 14th of March, we are going to be reading Spring Break.
Yes, I can't wait.
Super edition number 3.
Yeah.
The twins are off to south of France.
Ooh.
Jessica's finally going to get to go to Europe. We're also going to be announcing next week a spring special for Casey's Ice Cream Parlour.
Yes, indeed.
But we will reveal that title in a week's time.
And of course, next week, our Casey's episode, Stretching the Truth. What is Mary lying about?
I genuinely don't know.
Nor do I.
So
it's
I'm
exciting.
Very excited. So thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us on Instagram at Kelly's Roadhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Follow us on Facebook at Kelly's Roadhouse Podcast.
Yes, and give us your comments.
Let us know any comments you've got about this episode.
Yeah.
Or anything Sweet Valley related in general.
Yeah. We love your comments.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.